Good morning students, welcome back to the class 11 subject business study. As we have started our chapter number 7 sources of business finance, as we have done the concept of business finance, then we have seen the two categories of finance, and then we have gone with the classification of sources of funds. In today's lecture we will see owner's fund. Owner's fund is having 6 different categories, and all that categories are in huge detail. We will see one by one in today's video. As before starting this, I have shared you a chapter number 6 related notes via the different modes. You have received that notes and you should go with the study purpose. You should study very well. If any problem occurs, if you do not understand any concept, just comment back to that particular video. Now, let's begin with the concept owner's fund. In owner's fund, we are having 6 different categories. One is equity shareholder, equity share, then preference share, retained earning, global depository receipts GDRs, then American depository receipt ADRs, and Indian depository receipt IDRs. Every concept which has been mentioned over here, it has a detailed concept. We will going one by one with all the topics. First of all, we will start with the equity share. And what is equity share? Who is using that equity share? How company gets benefit with the equity shares, and how they repay that particular amount? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? What are the features of that equity shares? Everything will be studied in today's video. So let's begin with the concept considered as equity share. I have written 4 points here, but these 4 points can be elaborated by me more detailed. Let's begin with the first phrase. It is issued to raise long-term capital by the company. Equity shares are issued by the company for the purpose of earning long-term capital. Long-term capital means it takes more than 5 years or till the end of the organization. Equity shareholders are generally issued by the organization at the beginning, and if they need the money and there is no other source, then they issue equity share in the general public. So the issue of an equity share is being done for the purpose of long-term capital. Long-term capital means once they or equity shareholder or me or any people who is interested in taking risk, who is ready to bear all the losses, they invest in the equity share. And equity shares are the shares which gives you an ownership title. You have a right to participate in every field of the organization. Every decision can be taken with the help of voting right. So here equity share is being issued for a long purpose. Once you have paid the money, you have to look out that organization works smoothly as a shareholder. Now, the money is raised by the equity share is termed as equity share capital. इक्विटी शेयर से जो पैसे आप रेज करते हो एज एन कंपनी, उसे कहते हैं इक्विटी शेयर कैपिटल. इक्विटी शेयर कैपिटल is being raised at the beginning of the organization or company, or if they need that money in between and no other sources are available, then they issue equity share. But equity shares, how much amount they can apply? As you have already been aware about authorized capital. As I have given you a notes on this, and I have explained that authorized capital is fixed at the beginning of the organization. Authorized capital amount is fixed by the company at the time of registration. In MOA, the authorized capital has been specified. According to that authorized capital, equity shares are being issued in general market. Be careful with this. Now, who invested in equity share capital are also known as shareholders. Those persons who have purchased equity shares are known as shareholders. Shareholders are the ones who is real owner of the company. That means the person is investing money, taking huge risk for the company. Company needs to work hard and make profits and give it back to shareholder as a profit benefits. So equity shareholders are the real owners of the company who takes the participation in the organization, who can check accounts, who can take the decision for their benefits related to finance. Everything is considered as equity shareholders are the real owners of the company. Now, I have mentioned fourth point. They receive dividend in terms of profit from the company. As the owners of the company, they require certain profits. If organization make losses, they do not get any money. If they earn profit also, but before making the payments to the creditors and then they give a money as an interest to the debenture holders, after that the amount which is been remaining, it is being divided into equity shareholder. Here one thing should be very much clear. If profit is huge and after giving all the money to the debtors, creditors and the interest has been paid by the organization, if the amount is huge, the equity shareholder gets huge profits in terms of dividend. Be careful with the word dividend. And many times I have seen that students write dividend D-I-V-I-D-E-N-T. This is the wrong spelling of dividend. It is not D, it is dividend. Dividend has to be written carefully. D is being there at the end. I have faced huge problems related to this dividend. Many people are writing D-E-N-T. D-E-N-T is not the correct spelling. Spelling should be specific. So that make sure while writing the answer, you should write dividend properly. I have mentioned everywhere dividend correctly. Please concentrate on the spelling also. Now, going forward, as I said, if company makes huge profit, the equity shareholder gets huge dividend. If company does not get that much sufficient profit, the profit sharing of dividend will be lesser. According to that, companies give dividend after payments of assets, creditors and everything. So equity shareholders main introduction part is over from my side. Now we will carry forward with the features, then merits and demerits. Let's begin with the features. In feature, the first point is risk-bearing capital. What is risk-bearing capital? Risk-bearing capital means if you are a shareholder, if you take a huge risk, then you may have a chance to get huge returns. Huge returns in the sense huge profits. मैं अगर शेयर होल्डर हूँ, मुझे रिस्क लेना पसंद है, तो मैंने इन्वेस्टमेंट ऐसी कंपनी में किया है जहाँ पे मुझे बेनिफिट्स मिल सकता है इन फ्यूचर. आई शुड बी पेशेंट पर्सन टू परचेज दैट शेयर्स एंड वेट फॉर सम टाइम एंड सी दैट हाउ द कंपनी इज मेकिंग बेनिफिट्स. If you are taking huge risk, there may be a chance of huge returns to you in terms of dividend. So here it has been said that risk-bearing capital. Risk-bearing capital means the owner is taking a huge risk by investing in that particular company. If company makes losses, the organization makes losses, the person is ultimately suffering from that particular organization. Now second point is maturity. Maturity means how much time the money is been pending or how much time the company will take to return back to the organization, to that person, is on maturity. But in this equity share cases, there is a permanent capital. Permanent capital means if you invest in equity share, it cannot be sold out or it cannot be transferred to any other person until the organization gives you permission. But at maturity, because share capital is, equity share is ultimately a permanent capital, once you have paid the amount to that organization, it is not refundable till the end of the organization. End of the organization means till the organization gets wind up. But you can sell out your equity share to any other shareholder person or any other investor. You can do that, but you take a certain priority permissions from the organization. So on maturity, if we are talking on maturity, I have invested money in the company. I cannot sell out or I cannot take back from the company as and money. I cannot collect money from the company, but I can sell out to the market. Here it has been said that maturity is permanent, the capital will be permanent. So at the end of the organization, when the company gets wind up, all the assets, all the credits are being adjusted. After that, equity shareholder gets their capital in the end. Now next part is return. As I already said that returns are being uncertain. Sometimes company makes huge profit, shareholders get returns. Returns in the terms dividend. They receive dividend. Be careful with the word. Return means dividend. Dividend is being given by the organization after clearing all the debts. डेप्स मीन्स जो भी बोरोइंग्स है, जो भी इंटरेस्ट है, जो भी क्रेडिटर्स को पे करना है, सब कुछ एडजस्ट करने के बाद में अगर प्रॉफिट्स बच जाता है, वो प्रॉफिट्स को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करते हैं एज एन डिविडेंड. डिविडेंड कैन बी गिवन एज एन contribution done by the shareholder. Sometimes shareholder gets 2:1, 1:2. It is depending upon how much shareholders are there and how much they have contributed through capital. According to the capital, this returns or this dividends are being provided to shareholders. Now, next point is claim over residual income. As you know that the owners of the company is a shareholder. Company provides all the facilities after they pay all the assets related money or all the creditors amount they have paid, borrowings, interest, everything they have completely paid. The rest amount of the profits are being residual to the shareholders. Residual means here the shareholders ultimately gets dividend and they can claim and they can get the money from the organization's profit. Next point is voting right. Every shareholder has an equal right according to their share capital contribution. According to their capital contribution, they have a right to vote because they are the owners of the company. Next point is limited liability. Here in this point, it has been very much clearly said that the liability of an shareholder is limited to the contribution done by the shareholder in terms of capital. कंपनी को कितना भी लॉसेस होगा हो, अल्टीमेटली शेयर होल्डर की जो लायबिलिटी है वो लिमिटेड है. उनको अपनी पर्सनल प्रॉपर्टी बेचने की जरूरत नहीं है, वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ही हैंडल करेगा. नाउ वी आर गोइंग टुवर्ड्स द मेरिट्स. एज आई होप दैट यू हैव अंडरस्टूड दिस फीचर्स. 6 features are must to understand. Now we are going with the merits and demerits. Now it is been said that here first point itself says that ideal for adventurous investors. Adventurous investor means a person who is ready to take risk, who is ready to make sure that if he takes risk, he will get benefits. He should have a knowledge related to market. It is not suitable for the persons who are making sure that the return should be stable. They are not being risk takers. Ultimately मेरे जैसे लोग ऐसे बिजनेस में इन्वॉल्व नहीं होंगे क्योंकि हम लोग स्टेबल चलते हैं. We don't take huge risk. We calculate everything. But certain people who are ready to take huge risk without making any burden on them. They take risk. If the organization performs well, they earn huge. They earn huge in terms of profit. So it is ideal for adventurous investors means who are ready to take risk. Next point is no obligation as to dividend. As company has an advantage over here because dividend can be uncertain. Because sometimes the shareholder gets dividend high, dividend low, or sometimes no dividend. Sometimes losses are also been there in this equation. Now, source of fixed capital. Equity shares are one of the sources which are being used or it has been applied to generate capital as a fix for a long period of time. Next point is provide credit standards. What about credit standards? If shareholders are investing in the company, the shareholders are having a certain reputation as an investor. The investor list in the company can give a benefits to get a credit from market. Because the name itself assures that if something goes wrong, they will pay. Or they will make sure that the payment will be returned back. This kind of things are being merits as an equity shareholders or equity share. No charge on assets. In this term, it is been clear that the equity shares do not have any charge against assets. Why? Because any equity shareholder who is investing in terms of money, they do not have a right to sell the assets of the company. Because assets are being purchased in the names of the organization. Assets are related to land and properties, then machineries, vehicles, everything which are being purchased in the name of organization. As we have studied earlier, the company is an artificial person. Next point is democratic management. In this term, equity shareholder has a right to vote. He or she can participate in board of directors meeting. He or she can check accounts of the company because in equity shareholders are the owners and the owners have a right to handle a management who can check, who can discuss, who can take participation in managerial decisions. Now we are going with the demerits. In demerits, it has been 5 points. One is risk of fluctuating returns. यहाँ पर हम लोग वापस से वही पॉइंट रिपीट कर रहे हैं जो मैंने आपको नो ऑब्लिगेशन और डिविडेंड में कहा था. सेम पॉइंट्स है बट बर्डन नहीं होता. यहाँ पर ऑब्लिगेशन से बर्डन नहीं होता कंपनी के ऊपर कि नहीं आपको फिक्स डिविडेंड देना ही है. बट यहाँ पे जब फ्लक्चुएशन रिटर्न की बात करते हैं तो फ्लक्चुएटिंग मीन्स अप एंड डाउन. समटाइम्स यू डोंट गेट मनी. सो risk of fluctuating returns, equity shareholders does not get the benefit of fixed dividend because here the risk can be high or low, or profits can be high or low. According to the profits of the company, the dividend is being distributed to the shareholders. Now, high cost of capital. The sources of funds, in that we have studied that sources which are being used to generate capital from the market. This equity share is highly expensive as compared to other sources. Plus, equity shares are being making sure that the shareholders of that particular equity shares are being having a right to participate. Next point is dilution of control. Dilution of control means here it has been said that existing shareholders who are already getting benefits from the organization but After a certain period of time, organization thinks that they should issue an equity share in general market. So they issued and the investors have invested in the organization. Because of that, the division of control is being misbalanced, or it is like an existing shareholders think that they are getting less benefits because of that equity share. Now, legal formalities in company, or company requires to issue an equity share in the general market, they have to do lot of legal work, they have to do lot of documentation. As we have studied about SEBI approval, we have done the documentations on public sector. If you know that, if you have studied that, if not, go to the chapter number 2. We have studied all in details of memorandum of association and how the commencement of business is occurred. Now, these 4 points are being completed, but 5th point is danger of overcapitalization. Sometimes equity shareholders are beyond the use. आप क्या करते हो कि आपके पास ऑलरेडी इक्विटी शेयर मनी है, आपने क्या किया और इक्विटी शेयर मार्केट में इश्यू कर दिए. इससे क्या हो सकता है कि ओवर कैपिटलाइजेशन हो सकता है. ओवर कैपिटलाइजेशन मीन्स इट्स लाइक एन बर्डन फॉर द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बिकॉज द मनी विच हैज बीन taken by the equity shareholders, from the equity shareholders to organization, that money is not being utilized and it is not being used by the organization. That's why it is considered as over capitalization. Hope so you have understood the equity share. I have gone with the introduction and features, merits and demerits. If any problem occurs, just comment back in this video itself. That's it for today. Thank you.